Don't worry, I'll hand in your resignation for you. Serves you right. This is my first company trip, and I have a prosthetic leg. My boss, who always had it in for me, left me stranded on top of a cliff, laughing loudly. Me being alone, I was unable to get down from the cliff, feeling utterly lost. But he didn't realize that this would turn into a major event that would greatly impact his own life. And I too would have never imagined that it would change my life for the better. I'm John. I'm a 30-year-old office worker at a video game production company. While I may sound like an ordinary member of society, there's something about me that's a bit different. I live my life with a prosthetic leg. In middle school, I was involved in a traffic accident, which led to the amputation of my leg. I had pushed a girl who was walking ahead of me out of the way of an oncoming vehicle, which ended up hitting me instead. I remember being thanked profusely by her parents, to the point of feeling apologetic myself, as she also sustained severe leg injuries at that time, but had I not pushed her out of the way, her life would have been in grave danger. However, because of my impulsive act to save her, I was forced into a wheelchair-bound life for a while. Even though I didn't regret saving her, seeing my parents cry over my lost leg sometimes made me wonder if I had made a mistake. But I couldn't have just stood by and watched the accident happen. If I were to face that situation again, I would do the same thing, I convinced myself. Mr. Smith, my middle school teacher, once told me, "John, you did something truly remarkable. I understand how her parents feel. Your leg won't come back, and it pains me to see you in a wheelchair, but you did a noble thing. You saved a life. That's truly incredible. It's something that couldn't have been done without courage. Be proud of yourself. Give yourself a lot of credit." His words made me happy. I hadn't made a mistake. I had done the right thing. With those words in my heart, I managed to get through the rest of middle school without giving up. When I was a bit into high school, my mom called me one day, saying, "John, there's something I want to talk to you about." She showed me several documents. "What are these?" "They are brochures from companies that make prosthetic legs. I've picked out a few." Prosthetic legs. Yes, life in a wheelchair can be inconvenient in many ways. With a prosthetic leg, though it will be tough to get used to, you could do a lot more. What do you think? How am I supposed to respond to that? Having lived in a wheelchair up to that point, I hadn't considered walking on my own again and was taken aback by the sudden suggestion. But knowing that my parents had researched this for me, I decided to give it a try after some thought. Could I really walk and run on my own again? The thought of being able to do something I had given up on was exciting. The prosthetic leg that was made for me looked like a human leg. It wasn't like the athletic prosthetics I'd seen on TV, but more like a doll's leg. You could tell it was a prosthetic leg if I showed it, but with pants on you couldn't see the joints, and with shoes I looked just like everyone else standing. I was even moved the first time I saw it, but actually using it every day was a different story. At first, attaching it myself was a struggle. The joints hurt and didn't fit well, and I didn't know how to distribute my weight, causing other parts of my body to hurt as well. Having lost muscle from living in a wheelchair, walking for long periods of time was difficult, and adapting to the prosthetic leg was so hard that I considered giving up several times. But when I stood up again and saw my parents crying, I couldn't give up. High school life was limited due to my prosthetic leg, but I put extra effort into things I could do without using my leg. Of course, I never missed a walk to gradually increase my endurance on the prosthetic leg, and I regularly attended gym classes at school with the help of friends. By the time I got to college, I had gotten used to the prosthetic leg and could walk for long periods without looking any different from an able-bodied person. I went on to enjoy my college life and successfully landed a job at a video game production company, a field I had always been interested in. I informed them about my prosthetic leg during the hiring process, so everyone is very helpful when I need it, which I greatly appreciate. Now, I've been promoted smoothly and am working as a manager, leading my junior colleagues in developing new games. John, a colleague, called out. Jess, what's up? I have a personal matter I'd like to discuss with you. Can I join you for lunch today? Sure, but are you sure you want me as your confidant? Of course, I really want to talk to you, John. All right, let's do lunch today. Thank you so much. I could tell my junior colleagues regularly confide in me and rely on me for work, which shows their affection. While nurturing these adorable juniors who look up to me, I'm also aware that my boss treats me quite well. John, my boss said. Yes. The client was very pleased with our last project. The sales are also looking great. Thank you. So, I'm thinking of entrusting you with our next project. Is that all right with you? Jess, of course. I'll do my best. Thank you. That's reassuring. Well then, John, I'm looking forward to the next one. Thank you. It was gratifying to have such expectations from my section manager, Jason, and it motivated me greatly. I was working hard every day. But of course, there were those who didn't think well of me. One of them was my boss, head of my department, Kevin. Kevin, who is 5 years older than me, was promoted to head of the department when I became a manager. It seemed like he was jealous because I became a manager at a young age, and he often tried to make things difficult for me. He would stand deliberately in a way that made it hard for me to pass in the narrow corridors of the break room, or place shared documents high up where it was difficult for someone with a prosthetic leg like me to reach small things, but they built up stress. However, since Jason has been assigning me more work lately, I considered jealousy to be natural and focused on switching gears to work. Then one day, John, aren't you going on a company trip? I was asked by a junior colleague. Looking at the calendar, I realized it was already that time of the year. Our company goes on an annual summer trip. It started as an initiative by the CEO to give everyone a break from their usual desk-bound routines. This year was exceptionally hot. After gathering everyone's suggestions, it was decided that we were going to go to a highlanded area for a cooler experience. A highland area known for its beautiful abundance of flowers. Well, I'd love to go, but I don't want to be a burden. I had always refrained from joining the company trips, thinking my mobility issues would cause inconvenience. What? No, it'll be fine. Let's go. But I can walk fine, but hiking up to a highland is another story. Don't worry about it. We'll all help you out. Really, John, we're here to support you. Let's go together. Are you sure it won't be a bother? Of course not. You always help us out, so let us help you with this trip. Let's go. All right. If you all say so, I'll give it a try. Encouraged by everyone, I decided to go on my first company trip. Just as everyone had encouraged me, during the trip, they looked after me, making sure I had no troubles and could enjoy myself. During the bus rides, a junior colleague subtly took care of my bag, and a newbie volunteered to carry my suitcase, which I appreciated. Even Kevin, who usually gave me a hard time, seemed mellow, surrounded by nature, not bothering me and even appearing kind. John, he called out. What is it, Kevin? While enjoying the scenery of the highland, Kevin called me over. He pointed to a cliff apart from everyone else and said with a smile, check it out. The view from up there is amazing. This spot, it does look high. Yeah, I'll help you up. It's worth seeing. No, I might not be able to get down. It's fine. I'll support you going up and down. You really should see it. If you insist. All right. This spot was difficult to climb alone, seemingly high and a bit scary. But the view must be truly beautiful. Not wanting to dismiss Kevin's offer to help, I agreed to climb up with his support. You okay? Yes, almost there. Wow, this is incredible. Reaching the top and looking down, the view was as beautiful as Kevin said. Colorful flowers blossomed beautifully, offering a refreshing sight. I wanted to bring my junior colleagues here to show them. That's how beautiful it was. Kevin, thank you for helping me. This is truly stunning. I'm moved. Kevin. I thanked him, but he didn't respond. Looking around, I couldn't see him where he had been just moments ago. Kevin, where are you? I looked around frantically and spotted him walking away in the distance. Kevin, wait, where are you going? Shouting out, Kevin turned around. Kevin. Relieved for a moment, Kevin then grinned and said, "Don't worry, I'll submit your resignation for you," and walked away. What? Resignation? What do you mean? No, wait, Kevin, wait. Ha ha ha. Serves you right. His laughter echoed around me. What do you mean? What are you thinking? Come back, Kevin. I couldn't get down from here alone. His laughter faded, leaving only my shouts. Anyone? Is anyone there? Help. I can't get down. Anyone? I yelled, seeking help, but this place was off the beaten tourist path, and there was no one in sight. This is bad. Have I been abandoned? Kevin had been kind today. But what if it was all a plan to pacify me and leave me stranded? What if he had planned to leave me here alone from the start? The thought left me shocked. Right, my phone. I remembered I had left my cell phone below the cliff to avoid inconvenience while climbing. It's no use. There's no one around. I couldn't call for help. I couldn't descend a cliff by myself. What should I do now? I was at a loss, but soon the day began to fade. The temperature dropped, and I started to feel cold as my sweat dried. This is bad. There's no use worrying. If I don't return, someone will surely notice. Then, surely, someone will come for me. Deciding to wait until morning, I lay down in the shade to conserve energy. After a while, as the sun set beautifully, I was shivering from the cold when I suddenly sensed someone's presence and looked up. Hey, what are you doing here? Are you all right? You are so cold. I saw your belongings below and couldn't believe it. Can you get up? Put this on for now. Thank you. The man was an elderly gentleman with a camera who had noticed me and hurried over. That was close. I'm relieved to see you're conscious. Why are you up here on this cliff, sir? I love photographing the sunset. I often come here for it. Then I saw the belongings below and was surprised. Sometimes tourists climb up here and can't get down, especially children. I see. Never mind me, we need to get down quickly. While thinking his voice sounded familiar, the elderly man touched my leg, then looked surprised. Oh, it's a prosthetic leg. Do you know me, John? Huh? Don't you remember? It's Mr. Smith, your middle school teacher. Oh, Mr. Smith. Yes, it's been a long time. Turns out, the elderly man was Mr. Smith, my former teacher. Mr. Smith, why are you here? Well, after retiring, I moved to the countryside to pursue my hobby of landscape photography. I live within walking distance from here. I see. I was surprised but remembered he always had a camera back then. Mr. Smith rubbed my back to warm me up. Here, drink some tea. I'm glad I brought something warm. Here you go. He gave me some tea from his thermos, and its warmth spread through my body. So, why are you alone here? I explained. Actually, I was on a company trip to this highland, but someone left me here. What? He stopped rubbing my back in shock. I was told the view from this cliff was beautiful, so I climbed up with his help. It was beautiful, but then he just left, saying he'd submit my resignation. As you know, I have a prosthetic leg and can't get down alone. I thought if someone noticed my absence, they might come to help, so I decided to wait here. I might not be found in the dark, but I hope someone would come in the morning. I'm really glad you found me. That's terrible. Did he know you couldn't get down because of your prosthetic leg? Yes. What a despicable person. Mr. Smith was angrier at Kevin, who left me, than I was and carried me down the cliff. Thank you. I'll head back to my inn. No, I can't let you go back to a place with such people, and you're more weakened than you realize. Rest at my house. But that's too much. You've already helped me enough. No, come on. I couldn't argue with his insistence and followed him to his house. Oh my, what happened? This is my former student. He needs to rest right away. He's very cold. Could you prepare something warm? That's terrible. I'll bring a blanket right now. Ah, thank you. Mr. Smith's wife, perhaps, a sophisticated-looking lady, hurriedly brought me a blanket upon seeing me. I'm sorry to be a bother. It's okay. Please rest as long as you need, even though our place is small. Small was an understatement. I was surprised by how spacious and warm their house was. Mrs. Smith prepared hot lemonade for me, and while I was warming up, she served stew. Here you go, enjoy. Thank you, I will. The first bite spread a gentle sweetness, almost bringing tears to my eyes with its deliciousness. There's plenty, so you can have seconds if you want. Yes, it's very delicious. I would like some more, please. Oh dear, no need to rush. The stew isn't going anywhere. Sorry. It's okay. I'm happy to see you enjoying the meal. I was embarrassed at how eagerly I ate, almost gobbling up the food. But both of them looked at me with such kind eyes, as if I were their son, which I am truly grateful for. When I was left behind by Kevin, I didn't know what would happen next, but I never expected to receive such hospitality, and felt quite overwhelmed by their kindness. John, the bath is ready for you. Oh, I can't possibly impose for a bath too. That's too much. What are you worrying about now? Go ahead and bathe. I'll leave a towel at the door. We only have my husband's clothes, but you're welcome to wear them if you don't mind. I'll set them out. I felt guilty for having them take care of everything for me. But they were both so kind, and in the end, I even accepted a bath, borrowed clothes, and stayed in their spare room. I must have been exhausted. I slept soundly through the night. In the morning, I was surprised to see Mr. Smith on the phone saying, "We should definitely consult the police about this. We can't just let it slide because it's within the same company." No, it doesn't have to be a big deal. No way. If I hadn't come, you would have been in danger. Excuses like it was just a joke, don't cut it. Let's report it properly. He called and reported to the police. Soon after, police officers arrived, and Mr. Smith and I were questioned. Actually, I was intentionally left behind by a colleague, Kevin. Mr. Smith had insisted there was no need to cover for Kevin, so I told him everything as it was. It then became national news on TV, spreading quickly. At the same time, I heard Kevin was taken into custody by the police while he was relaxing at the line. Later, I was asked to give another statement at the police station. After the questioning was over, I wanted to thank Mr. and Mrs. Smith again, so I visited their home once more. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, thank you so much for everything. No worries. Just like how you once did, I'm proud to have saved a life. Mr. Smith, I'm happy too. It's been a long time since someone enjoyed my stew so much. Thank you. No, thank you for the delicious meal. It really helped me recover. Well, that's nice to hear. Please feel free to visit anytime. As I was expressing my gratitude at the doorstep, some of my colleagues appeared. John, why are you all here? We heard from the police. We're so sorry about what happened. Why are you apologizing? You did nothing wrong. Kevin was to blame, not my colleagues. I knew they had been calling repeatedly after noticing my absence. They had no reason to apologize. But everyone was still hanging their heads. When John disappeared, we asked Kevin, and he told us, John had a family emergency and had to leave suddenly. We didn't know anything until the police came to the inn. We tried contacting you a few times on your cell phone, but thought you couldn't answer because of the family emergency. Looking back, we should have confirmed it more thoroughly. We knew Kevin was always mean to you, but we thought he would behave on the company trip. So, we just believed him without any doubt. We had promised to support you, and yet we let you face danger. We're truly sorry. Don't apologize. It's not your fault. Don't worry about it. We can't just let this be. There was a female colleague almost in tears. Clearly, they were all very worried. Seeing this, Mr. Smith said, "When I heard you were left behind by someone from your company, I worried about what kind of terrible company you were working for. But John, it looks like you're at a good place. I'm relieved to see everyone loves you. You guys understand, right? Stop apologizing now. It'll only trouble John. If you regret it, just make sure such a thing never happens again. That's all, right, John?" "Yes, everyone. Sorry for worrying you. Let's go home." As I motioned, they all nodded. "All right, let's go back." Later, I heard Kevin was sentenced to prison. Nobody from the company visited him, and he was no longer a topic of discussion. The incident being broadcast nationwide made me somewhat of a celebrity, and even employees from other departments who didn't know the full story learned about it. Although I received concerns from everyone I passed by for a while, I was fine. As for Kevin, I didn't want to see his face, so I didn't attend the trial. Mr. Smith, who went to observe, told me Kevin confessed, "I was jealous he got a position at a younger age than I did. I was jealous that he was adored by both junior colleagues and bosses. I knew he had a prosthetic leg, so I left him where he couldn't get down on his own. I didn't care what happened to him. I hoped he wouldn't come back to the company. I couldn't stand seeing him happy every day despite his prosthetic leg. I thought I'd be adored if he wasn't there. I was shocked to know I was hated to that extent. It was also frightening that living a normal life could incur so much hatred." Kevin's selfish and childish excuses led to his family disowning him. He had a young child, but he was divorced, and now his whereabouts are unknown. He lost his family and, of course, his job. He lost everything. After getting out of prison, he's been barely making ends meet with day labor. None of us, myself included, had any sympathy for him. He got what he deserved. Afterward, I threw myself into the new project assigned by Jason. The game we created was a huge hit. Acknowledged for my contribution, I became a manager and then the youngest department head in the company. I was the most surprised at my promotion but wanted to give my all since I was entrusted with it. In my first executive meeting as a department head, I gathered my courage and said, "I have a suggestion to make. How about we put more effort into hiring employees with disabilities?" Actually, many people with disabilities have put in a lot of effort to live in a society designed for able-bodied people. As a result, there are many highly capable individuals who can surely contribute to our company. Until now, our company had only hired the minimum number of people with disabilities as required by law. However, I believe that we should actively recruit anyone who can contribute to the company, regardless of their disabilities. After all, this is the company that employed me. They should be flexible in this regard, I thought. So, I made this proposal, half expecting it to be turned down. But to my surprise, my CEO George readily agreed, saying, "Indeed, that makes sense. We have John as an example. All right, let's start doing that from the next fiscal year. Arrange whatever we need," making it a decision, and I was taken aback. "Is that okay? Is there a problem?" "No, I just didn't expect immediate approval." If someone as capable as you suggests it, it must be right. Besides, there's surely a suitable job for everyone, whether they have disabilities or not." True to his word, George began actively hiring people with disabilities, not just for new graduates, but also for mid-career positions, provided they had the ability and could contribute to the company. As I predicted, many of them were highly skilled and continuously growing. Knowing about me, they were motivated, realizing that even with disabilities, they could aim for promotions. Their contributions helped the company grow even larger. Some time after we began actively employing people from various backgrounds, a woman joined a company through mid-career recruitment. Her face and name were familiar. It was Emily, the woman I had saved back in middle school. Emily, John, is that you? We were both surprised and happy to reunite. John, you work here? Yeah, I do. What about you, Emily? Where have you been until now? I was working at an advertising agency, but I quit due to various reasons. Then I heard about this company and decided to apply. I see. We got to know each other after the accident when I woke up and she visited me in the hospital. Although she didn't lose her leg, she suffered from after effects that made it difficult for her to walk smoothly like an able-bodied person. We became close as I repeatedly comforted her when she cried, blaming herself for my leg injury. Being of the same age, we quickly exchanged contact information and continued to support and encourage each other even after being discharged from the hospital. When I got my prosthetic leg, she was the only one I could confide in. We kept in touch regularly until graduation, but became a bit distant once we started working due to our busy lives. I'm glad we met again. You look well. Thank you. I'm happy to see you too. Her facial expression was brighter compared to the past. That made me happy too. And then surprisingly, Emily and I started dating. I didn't know it, but she always had feelings for me. I told her I didn't want to burden her with my prosthetic leg, and if she was doing this out of guilt, she should stop. But she said, maybe at first, but now it's different. I genuinely like you, John. Could any man not be moved by those words? I too had secretly harbored feelings for her, and they reignited. Things progressed quickly, and we started dating. We ended up working in the same department, and while working together, we went on dates to barrier-free restaurants and tourist spots in our private time. Having already met each other's parents, they were all tearfully happy about our relationship. Next month, we'll start living together in a barrier-free house, and I'm looking forward to our future. Whether someone has a disability or not doesn't change their worth as a person. What's important is their character and attitude. There's no need to envy someone else's achievements. It doesn't matter who they are. Just focus on doing what you can. Living honestly will eventually be recognized by those around you. Here you go, John. Here's your lunch for today. Thanks, Emily. I'm a lucky guy. I'm married to a beautiful woman who's perfect at housework. My name is John. I work as an office clerk at the City Hall. I've just recently married Emily, and we're still newlyweds. Emily is known as a beauty even within the City Hall. Older men come by just to see her, even when they have no business there. Honestly, it must be a hassle to deal with them, but Emily never shows any sign of it to others. Maybe it's her kind nature that attracted me to her. At our wedding, my colleagues were envious of me for marrying Emily. Even after marriage, Emily's cooking is excellent, and her homemade lunches are perfect. They are both visually appealing and nutritious. Hey, John, did you know? Our neighbors call us the ideal couple. Seeing Emily smile like that makes my smile even wider. I'm truly happy. I get to savor this happiness until the day I die. Marriage is wonderful. I always feel like shouting that out. It's almost a year since we got married. Emily and I have a great relationship, but we don't have any children yet. I'm not brave enough to have children yet. I wanted them, but Emily said that and seemed hesitant. That's right. Pregnancy and childbirth are tough on a woman. I shouldn't force it on her. There's no need to rush anything. I told Emily that. I was busy with work and wanted more time with Emily. Since we hadn't been able to travel much since our marriage, I was trying hard to make time for a trip. You don't have to overdo it for me. Let's go when we have the time. Besides, I'm happy just living with you, John. Emily said that with a smile. She's such a kind wife. Even though she's a full-time homemaker, she always wears makeup, smells of nice perfume, and is as beautiful as when we were dating. So, to make her a bit happier, I was preparing a surprise overseas trip for our first anniversary. Imagining a delighted Emily, I was excited. Then, one day, I had to work late. Exhausted, I returned home. But when I got home, Emily wasn't there. Where's Emily? Something felt off in the house. It seemed unusually spacious. On closer inspection, some furniture and belongings were missing. After a while, I realized they were all Emily's things. A bad feeling crept over me, and I saw 2 pieces of paper on the table. It was a letter for me. My hands trembling, I read the letter. It was simply written like this: I've fallen in love with someone else, so I want a divorce. I couldn't understand what was happening. We hadn't fought recently, so I was confused. In a panic, I tried to contact Emily, but as expected, no response. She wouldn't even answer the phone. I was at a loss about what to do. The day after my wife left, I somehow mustered the energy to go to work. At the office from morning, my face must have looked deathly, because Tom, who's my age, expressed concern and spoke to me. During the break, I told Tom about Emily. Emily, that's unbelievable. Tom had transferred almost at the same time Emily quit for our marriage, so they only knew each other for about 2 weeks, but he was familiar with Emily and her personality. So, he looked incredulous. Could it be an affair or something? When Tom suggested that, I felt a chill run through me. Seeing me more depressed, Tom advised that if it was an affair, it's better to get alimony and divorce. But I didn't want to believe Emily had an affair. It's impossible. Emily, who always talked to me with a smile, just couldn't. I couldn't accept that our happy marriage was over. I don't want to divorce Emily. Ashamed, I started to sob. After thinking, Tom said to me, "Let's go for a drink today, at least. I'll listen to your complaints." He invited me to a bar. At an all-you-can-drink place near our workplace's station, I drank like I was drowning. Tom and I get along well. We visit each other's houses, and I've had some interaction with Tom's family. Especially with Tom's sister, Lisa. We often go out for drinks, the 3 of us. I always admired how close they are as siblings. Lisa joined us today, and the 3 of us were drinking. Normally, I'd be enjoying myself, but not today. Stop it already. When Tom told me to stop, I slumped over the table, face down. Emily, Emily. Longing for her, I muttered like talking in my sleep. John, are you okay? I heard Lisa's concerned voice, but I was too drunk to respond properly. Lisa, you have an early day tomorrow, right? I'll stick with him for today, so you go on home. After Tom said that, Lisa reluctantly got up from her seat. John, don't drink too much. Saying that, Lisa patted my shoulder and left the bar. Tom let out a sigh. Look, John, I get you're upset, but first we need to figure this out. It's strange she suddenly found someone she likes, and Emily wasn't even working. So where did she meet this guy? I have no idea. Anyway, drowning your sorrows in booze isn't going to help. I know a private investigator. I'll ask him to look into it. I lifted my alcohol-swollen face. Why would you go to all that trouble for me? Because we're friends. Besides, we're already short on guys at the office. If you quit because of a breakdown, who am I going to go drinking with after work? Tom said, laughing. I don't remember much after that. When I woke up, I was at home in my bed. After that, I fell. Whether it was the shock or the excessive alcohol, I was hit with a high fever. Take it easy and rest up. I'll cover for you at work," Tom said over the phone. I took his advice and rested in bed, but with nothing to do, I couldn't stop thinking about Emily. It was agonizing. A few days later, Tom called, telling me to come over to his place. "We need to talk about the results." At first, I couldn't remember what he was talking about. "It's about the investigator's findings." Then I remembered. "You really went through with it." "Yeah, so I need you to come over." Tom's voice was lower than usual, making me anxious. With heavy steps, I entered Tom's apartment. There, the private investigator Tom had hired was waiting. He turned out to be a junior from Tom's middle school. As for the investigation results, the investigator slowly took out some photos. "To get straight to the point, your wife had been seeing another man even before you got married." I was shocked. "Before our marriage? You mean Emily was two-timing me?" The revelation shook me to my core, sending me into a mild panic. But in the photos the investigator handed me, there was Emily, happily arm in arm with a tall, unfamiliar man. I was staggered by the hopeless situation. "Calm down, John," Tom said, supporting my wobbly body, but I was beyond calming. "Could you explain, please?" Tom asked, and the investigator nodded slowly. According to him, Emily and this man had been dating since their student days. Moreover, the guy was an aspiring actor, recently gaining some fame on YouTube. Perhaps due to his rising fame, he landed a significant role as the boss of the protagonist in a minor action movie. In other words, Emily was having an affair with an aspiring actor who was gradually making his way to stardom. So, Emily was cheating on me, or rather, she had been two-timing me all along. The investigator's astonishing revelations continued. Emily was supposed to be a full-time homemaker, but it turned out she was engaging in sugar baby activities during the day. So what about the housework? I wondered, but it seems she couldn't do any housework herself and had hired a maid service. "Are you okay?" Tom asked me that. I'm okay. Private investigators are amazing. They uncover everything in just a few days." I tried to laugh it off, but all I felt was emptiness. Mr. Investigator." "Yes, what is it? Why did Emily marry someone like me? If she liked that actor so much, why did she marry me?" That was my only question. I can only speculate about her motives, but would you like me to share my thoughts? The investigator pressed for my confirmation. I nodded, asking him to tell me. Then I came to know another side of Emily. She was involved in sugar baby activities, and it turned out she was quite the playgirl, having several men besides that actor. The investigator speculated that Emily wanted a convenient husband who would ensure her food, clothing, and shelter, so she could continue her playful lifestyle. And now, with the actor on the brink of breaking into stardom, she quickly switched from me to him. She was like a parasite. I felt the image of Emily crumbling inside me. I also felt angry at myself for not realizing it, despite being together for so long. Looking back, Emily had gently refused to have children, and she didn't seem eager to travel with me. Her always being made up makes sense now, if she was meeting other men or doing sugar baby activities. How could this be? I loved Emily so much. Tom suddenly stood up. What a wicked woman. She must not be forgiven. Hey, let's sue her, Tom proposed angrily. The investigator mentioned that it's common to follow up an infidelity investigation with legal action and offered to connect me with a lawyer. Let's get alimony from her and bring her to ruins, right, John? Tom patted my shoulder. But Sorry, let me think about it. The meeting ended, and I went home. After that, I kept recalling memories of Emily and cried alone in bed. The next day was Sunday, so I could rest at home, but I dreaded going to work the next day. I even started hating the idea of living. Looking at the overseas trip tickets I was supposed to surprise her with made me even sadder. Emily. As I muttered her name with lingering attachment, the phone rang. It was Tom. "Hey, you alive?" Tom laughed cheerfully when I answered. "I wish I were dead." I laughed through my nose and said it jokingly. "Don't die over a woman like that." "I know, but..." I could only respond weakly. "Despite everything you've done for her, Emily choosing that actor over you shows she's a fool," Tom said with a helpless chuckle. His words released something inside me. I vented all my feelings about Emily to Tom. I was furious to know she had cheated on me. My blood was boiling. But I was happy to be married to Emily. It was because of Emily that I could work so hard. Emily's cooking was delicious. I wanted children with Emily. I wanted her to be with me forever. Tom silently listened as I cried and shouted out my feelings. After I had poured out my heart, Tom said to me, "You are truly kind." "Kind? I'm just a fool." "That's not true." I self-deprecated, but Tom reassured me. "Do you remember when I first got assigned to our current workplace, you stayed up late helping me, a newbie who didn't know anything, with training?" "I remember, but that was a huge help for me. Do you know why I transferred from my previous department?" Then, Tom opened up about his struggles in his previous department, including being harassed by a superior. I never imagined that the always cheerful Tom had gone through such things in his previous department. That's why I was really scared when I came here. I was afraid of being yelled at again. But everyone here was so kind, and because I met you, I managed to make it this far. Tom said this with a shy smile. "So, when I heard you were getting married, I was happy for you. I wanted to support you. That's why I can forgive Emily for hurting you, a kind person." So, Tom continued, "If it means you'll get crushed by her worries, let's make Emily face the consequences. You have the right to do that. I'll help you." Hearing all this, I finally found the courage to let go of my lingering feelings for Emily. "Thank you, Tom. Emily, I loved you, but I need to settle this." Then I decided to take alimony and pursue a divorce. Of course, I also sued her lover for alimony. Once I made that decision, my feelings for Emily completely vanished, and I even started to feel angry, wanting to thoroughly go through with the lawsuit. So, I even contacted the talent agency. The agency, concerned about their image, suspended the lover and put his activities on indefinite hold. Naturally, he lost his big role. On YouTube, his account disappeared one day without an apology video. As I was thinking serves him right, I got a call from a certain person. Yes, it was Emily. Hearing her voice after such a long time was shocking. The calm demeanor she showed me was gone, replaced by a torrent of slander and insults. However, I stood firm. If she had more complaints, I told her we could settle it in court, and Emily hung up the phone bitterly. This was truly the end. I felt completely resolved and grateful to my supportive friend. Months passed since that day. I was drinking with Tom and his sister, Lisa, at the same bar. Somehow, I felt happiest when I was with these two. Suddenly, I took out the overseas trip tickets from my bag. These were originally for my ex-wife, but I want you two to have them. I handed a pair of tickets to Tom as a gesture of gratitude. Hey, isn't this a place you'd go with a lover?" Tom said, looking troubled. "Can I really take this?" Lisa asked, surprised and repeatedly questioning. "Jer, take it. Go and enjoy yourselves, you two." "That's a no from me," Tom said, handing one ticket back to me. And he placed the other one in Lisa's palm. "You guys should go," he said with a grin. What? Both Lisa and I said in unison, standing up. No, but, I mean, Lisa would be bothered. Me and her. I stammered, glancing towards Lisa. Lisa, flustered, looked down. Well, if John doesn't mind, I'd like to go, maybe, she said, her face turning bright red. I felt my body heat up too. Oh no, my heart is pounding. At this moment, I was unaware that a new love was beginning to blossom within me. Excuse me, but I will be resigning from the company. The words of my colleague, Noah, echoed across the floor. I was staring intently at him. In my field of vision was Noah submitting his resignation letter to James. At that sight, my mind went blank in an instant. What on earth happened to Noah? I never thought he would leave the company. My name is Robert. I'm just an ordinary office worker in a small company in a rural town. Noah, he was my peer and one of the top salesmen in our company. His sudden decision to quit sent shockwaves through the office. Wait a minute, Noah, just the other day, you were talking about wanting to land more contracts for our company. James's voice, trying to stop him, was unusually loud. I'm sorry, but I can no longer do that. What happened? Were you poached by another company? No, my father became bedridden, and now I have to take over his business. That's a big deal. I guess I can hold you back then. After that, James and Noah talked about various things. But my head was so full of the fact that Noah was leaving that I couldn't eavesdrop on their conversation anymore. I met Noah a few years ago at our company's orientation. After the president's long speech, Noah, representing the new employees, started saying something like this. Everyone, I look forward to working with you for the year. The president's speech was quite lengthy, so I'll keep this short. We thought Noah would get a scolding from the upper management for this speech, but that's a great speech that really understands the needs of the employees. Noah was praised by the president himself. After that, he smoothly navigated his way through the company, becoming a trusted and capable worker. I got close to Noah when I upset a client during a sales meeting. At that time, Noah came to my rescue, defending me from the angry client. When I thanked Noah with a thank you, he laughed and said, "It's mutual, isn't it?" Since then, I started consulting Noah whenever I had a problem at work. And now, Noah is leaving the company due to unavoidable family circumstances. While I understood, I couldn't help but worry about the future of our department. More than half of our department's performance relied on Noah's work. Without him, I wondered who I could turn to for advice. Noah was that important, not just to the company, but to me personally. A few months passed. We're managing somehow even without our ace. Even after Noah left, our department was doing okay. Our performance dipped a bit, but James is rallying everyone, boosting morale and saying we can't let it stay this way. James's go-to phrase is, "Come on, if we can handle even this, Noah will laugh at us." He always used to say that. Every time I heard those words, I thought about how much James cared for Noah. It reminded me of how important Noah was to our department. Would be nice if he were here. Whenever there was a big issue, someone would murmur something like that. As much as everyone missed Noah, I found myself wondering, I wonder how he's doing now. It was a daily reminder of how much we all relied on Noah. One day, after finishing overtime, I got home late at night. To my surprise, I received a message on my cell phone from Noah. The message was a catch-up after a long time, telling me he's somehow getting by. But something about it felt off to me. After all, it had been 6 months since Noah left, and I hadn't heard anything from him personally. Yet suddenly, there was this message. Feeling uneasy, I called Noah. "Hey, how's it going? Did something happen?" I was kind of surprised to get a message out of the blue. Actually, I've got something I need to talk to you about. Talk. Jer, it's a bit of a sudden request, but would you come work for me? Well, at your company, Noah, we're having a tough time settling on a salesperson. I've reached out to other colleagues too, but they all turned me down. So I'm just a backup. A strange anger wells up inside me. I don't know why it irritates me so much that Noah didn't rely on me first. So, what are the terms? You'll consider it. Depends on the offer. I don't want to step down from my current job, and please, no sudden retraction of the offer. I get it. I intend to pay you a salary that matches your career, so please. All right, let me think about it. It's a big decision, even if it's no asking. I can't just say yes right away. Take your time. I'm really grateful you're even considering it. I feel a sense of gratitude towards Noah, yet I'm still torn. I have a certain attachment to my current company, a sense of obligation. Could I really just up and leave like that? For Noah, it's a family situation. Leaving the company seems unavoidable. But it's different for me. Sigh, what should I do? I'm troubled, pondering my future. The next day, my mind is still full of thoughts about switching to Noah's company. I can't decide just yet. Hey, what's up? You look troubled, Robert. Amelia, a junior colleague, speaks to me. She's friendly and calls me senior, but she's like the office idol here. Just talking to her draws the ire of her fans, who then secretly harass me. So I usually keep my distance from her. Just some personal worries. Could it be about Noah? I just noticed you've been thinking a lot about Noah lately. I stared at her, surprised. How did she know about that? Sure, I've been worried about Noah, but I didn't expect anyone to notice. How did you figure that out? I overheard people in the department talking about Noah reaching out, and how it's been a hassle. I wondered if you were involved too. Oh, I see. Her words make sense. Apparently, my colleagues are annoyed about being recruited by Noah and have been talking about it. Noah must have his reasons. I wish they wouldn't badmouth him like this. Did he approach you too? Yeah, kind of. It feels like he's asking me as a last resort since others have declined. That doesn't sound like Noah. Amelia's remark makes me pause. Indeed, why would Noah specifically reach out to former colleagues like this? He could easily find people through job agencies or local industry contacts. I wonder if there's a reason he's targeting people from this company. That's a bit concerning. We exchanged glances, both puzzled. But then, an unexpected disaster was about to strike. Sorry, but could you quit your job for Noah's sake? Oh, what are you talking about? This happened when I was called over to James's desk. You know Noah is in a tough spot, right? I want to support him, but I can't leave this company. I could fire a few people from the department for Noah's sake, help them find new jobs. Haha. James's casual extreme suggestion sent chills down my spine. Noah could find capable people locally, without relying on us. Well, apparently that's not working out. A local big shot is sabotaging Noah's business. He's even posted on the job boards, but only weirdos are showing up, making interviews impossible. It seems Noah has even reached out to James for help. But really, such outdated harassment. As I mull this over, I finally understand the situation Noah is in. He's being harassed to the point of almost losing his father's company. If you're up for it, why not help Noah out? That's a bit, well, James. Is he suggesting I quit my job? So, this means they don't need me at this company. Whether James is joking or not, it's rude to suggest an employee leave to join a company run by a former colleague. Hearing James's words, my decision, which I had been agonizing over, solidified. I'll leave here and join Noah's company. After all, Noah helped me a lot when I was at this company. It's my turn to take care of him. All right, I'll leave the company next month. No rush, just, I feel bad for Noah, you know. James always has a soft spot for Noah. I can relate. That's because I feel the same way. And so, I made a clear decision about my future. Months later, I resolutely quit my job and joined Noah's company, working in sales. Wow, this place is the company. It's falling apart. What surprised me most was the rundown state of the company. Sorry, it's an old factory and office we've been using since my dad's time. It's falling apart. Apparently, the local contractors are under the big shot's influence, causing trouble whenever they try to get repairs done, so they've stopped asking. Is that what's bothering you? I know from James what Noah is going through. That's why I couldn't believe Noah was struggling with this. We can ask our old company for repairs. They are a construction company, after all. It'll be good business for them. Well, that's true, but there's a labor shortage right now. I don't want to burden them with our work and hinder their ability to serve other customers. Don't sweat the small stuff. Former top sales. That's right. Amelia, who was with me, chimed in. I wasn't the only one who had come to help Noah. Some employees, concerned about him, were working part-time at our old company while also helping out here. Amelia was one of them. The president of our old company said to ask for help if needed. You have a lot of strong allies. No need to feel down. Yeah, thanks, everyone. Noah shed tears in front of us. Don't cry, Noah. Amelia gently patted his back, and I handed him a handkerchief. From then on, it was like a battle. The harassers are from one of the companies run by the local big shot. It's a local company with a factory in the same industry as ours. Whenever we conducted sales activities, some shady guys turned up, causing enough trouble to call the police. Even sales calls often turned out to be harassment, and weirdos flooded in whenever we tried to recruit office staff or part-timers through job services. But seriously, what does Noah have that those powerful harassers don't like? Even though they're powerful, they don't have much clout anymore, but they seem to want this company's factory, along with the land. I've always said I won't sell, but they have connections in high places, so we can't make any rash moves. Noah said with a wry smile. In these past few months, I've deeply understood Noah's struggles. It's understandable to feel weak in such a situation. But isn't that illegal? On the surface, they are a legitimate business, so the police can't do much. We're really at a loss here. Well, we just have to deal with it step by step. That's right. If we get discouraged here, it's just what they want. Amelia brought us some tea. I noticed she was smiling mischievously. What's up? That weird smile is kinda creepy. Didn't James contact you? Something big must be happening. Something big. I didn't understand the meaning of Amelia's words at the time. And then, it happened the next day. It seems the company which harassing us will soon be investigated for tax evasion. Apparently, there was a whistleblower. Later, we found out that the informant was James from our old company. Apparently, James's wife's friend worked part-time at that harassing company. One day, she saw documents showing the sales hours and revenue figures were being underreported. By chance, James's wife was consulted about it, and she informed James, who then reported it to the tax authorities. Such a terrible and malicious company. No doubt, a lot of their misdeeds would come to light. That company and the related big shot are finished. I never imagined that the company would come to such an abrupt end. But now we can work freely, that's great. Finally, we can settle down and focus on work, and maybe even step up our romance game. What do you mean? Amelia's words caught my attention, and I asked her. What do you think about a woman who follows the guy she likes to his workplace? The office idol asked with a beautiful, meaningful smile. What's that all about? You'll have to figure that out yourself. No couples have married from the workplace yet. but we might soon have our first one from our company." Noah, watching us, smiled contentedly. Seeing Noah smile so happily made me smile too. "You haven't smiled like that in a while." Seeing him like that, I renewed my resolve to work hard at this company for Noah's sake. "I'll be going back to my parents' place tomorrow," she told me, leaving me with nothing to do but sigh. Over 30 and anxious to get married, I ended up with a woman who was dazzled by my career at a major corporation. So, when she found out I got laid off, she quickly brought up divorce. "Can you even manage at your parents' place?" "It's fine. It's a proper place, unlike here," she said, packing her things and leaving. Apparently, our home wasn't proper enough for her. Is this what happens when you get laid off from a big company? I sighed again, looking at the empty entrance. A few months later, I was in a corner of a mixed-use building. "Mike, after you finish that hallway, can you take care of the restroom upstairs?" "Sure, got it." Finding a job was tough after the layoff. Being from a big company, I'd passed the paperwork but come off too strong in interviews, making the interviewers frown. I guess I was hard to employ. No company seemed willing to hire me. During my job hunt, the local job center suggested a cleaning company. Luckily, I got the job and successfully switched careers. Now, I'm on site training. Of course, cleaning is new to me, and I spend most days getting yelled at. "Man, cleaning's tougher than I thought. Maybe it's not for me, but I gotta work to eat," I muttered, smoking on the rooftop during a break. That's when I saw a little girl crouching by the roadside. "What's going on?" I was wide-eyed with shock. That girl seemed off. She didn't move an inch. I still have time during my lunch break. So, I ran down the stairs to check on her. "Hey, are you okay?" When I went to see her and spoke to her, she turned her pale face towards me. She might be around 10 years old. "What's a little girl doing here?" "I'm sorry, my stomach hurts a bit." "Wow, that's tough. Were you heading home early from school?" She shook her head at my question. "Well, I have to buy lunch for everyone." Saying that, the girl took out her trembling hand with a wallet. She showed me a note inside her wallet. "What's this?" It had a list of foods like hamburgers and sandwiches written in a child's handwriting. "I have to buy what everyone wants to eat, or else I'll be left out again." What, really? I realized what she was doing from her words. Seems like her classmates had sent her to buy lunch. That's almost like bullying. "Young lady, forget the shopping. Let's go home now. You're pale as a ghost." What should I do? She swayed right in front of me. "Are you okay?" I supported her, holding her up. I needed to protect her without looking suspicious. "Then, I'll call your school, so tell me the phone number." Okay. I called her elementary school and arranged for her teacher to pick her up. Meanwhile, she rested in our break room in the mixed-use building. Sending a sick kid on an errand during lunchtime. What kind of teacher is in charge? It's not the teacher's fault. It's because I don't follow what everyone says. Lying on the bench, she weakly spoke to the manager, Josh. But this is a bit much. To make a child with a cold run errands when she has school lunch is nothing more than harassment. Is it? She looked down at Josh's words. "Anyway, you should drink something first." I handed her a sports drink. "Thank you." A slight smile appeared on her face. Seeing her adorable smile, I found myself smiling too. Such a polite and good kid. Why would her classmates do something so awful to her? I can't believe it. Then, there was a voice at the door of the break room. "Excuse me, I heard my daughter is here." Looking towards the door, I saw a young woman, out of breath, standing next to a stern-looking man. The woman, looking sorry, rushed over to us. "I'm the mother of Kayla, the girl you've been looking after. I'm Johnson, her teacher." Mr. Johnson and her mom. "Got it. I'm really sorry for the trouble my daughter has caused." "No, she hasn't caused any trouble at all." Kayla's mom bowed deeply, but I shook my head. "Rather, please let Kayla rest at home as soon as possible. If she keeps going like this, her condition might worsen. She needs to see a doctor." That's when Mr. Johnson, standing next to the mother, said something astonishing. "I understand you are not feeling well, but there's a problem with your behavior too." What? The atmosphere froze at Mr. Johnson's words. What is this man talking about? You say there was harassment, but leaving school to go shopping requires some serious reflection. I interrupted Mr. Johnson mid-sentence. Are you even fit to be a teacher? What's wrong with you? I'm just stating the obvious. Don't you feel anything for this girl, who's been bullied into shopping by her classmates? Are you out of your mind? Are you even a teacher? Manager Josh backed me up. Mr. Johnson glared at me angrily and continued. Normally, you should refuse. If you can't do that, doesn't it reflect a lack of home training? Is it my fault? For some reason, Mr. Johnson turned his gaze to Kayla's mother and said that. It's not my mom's fault. Kayla, who had been lying down, suddenly sat up and glared at Mr. Johnson. What's that attitude towards your teacher? Everyone told me. They said my mom's school lunches taste bad, so I should bring tasty stuff from the convenience store. If not, they'd tell Mr. Johnson and get my mom fired from the lunch diner. That's terrible. Is that true? Kayla's mother looked shocked, staring at her daughter. Even Mr. Johnson seemed surprised by this revelation and started asking Kayla for more details. What do you mean by that? I've been told for a long time by the kids in my class. They say my house is a poor single-parent home with a mom who makes lousy school lunches. They don't want to hang out with me because they think poverty is contagious. So, might that be a misunderstanding? Kayla, when I heard about this earlier and checked with the students, they said that wasn't true. Of course, they wouldn't admit it. Kayla glared at Mr. Johnson through her tears. Well, that may be, but... Mr. Johnson was flustered and fell silent. We'll be leaving for today. I will report this bullying incident to the school. Kayla's mother, who had been watching, said this to Mr. Johnson. He looked surprised, staring at the girl's mother. The mother turned away from Mr. Johnson's gaze and said to Kayla, Let's go, Kayla. We've caused a lot of trouble. I'm very sorry. Thank you, sirs. Kayla and her mother bowed to us and left the break room. The problem was, Mr. Johnson, the teacher, just stood there watching the mother and daughter, saying nothing. Aren't you going back to the school, Mr. Johnson? Yes, I will return, but there are things I want to think about. Mr. Johnson stood there stunned, tears welling up in his eyes. I'm not in a position to say this, but I think what you just said is the worst thing I've ever heard from a teacher. When I said that, Mr. Johnson's tears started to flow uncontrollably. I felt sorry for him, even though I thought it was pathetic. Well, life doesn't always go as planned, you know. I patted Mr. Johnson on the shoulder. Then, Mr. Johnson turned his tear-stained face to me and said, I'm sorry, but do you have time to meet soon? A few days later, Mr. Johnson and I were sitting together in a pub. I thought I was doing all right, but, realizing that everything Kayla said was true, I didn't know what to do. Mr. Johnson said, his eyes brimming with tears again. Well, nobody expects a student they trust to lie, right? I listened as Mr. Johnson told me what happened next. It turned out that several kids in Mr. Johnson's class had been harassing Kayla. And to make matters worse, the ringleader was a top student, supposedly a good friend of Kayla's. The harassment started because a classmate's mom said, Kayla is from a poor single-parent home. She's not like our wealthy families. What a terrible thing to say, making such classist remarks. Mr. Johnson shook his head in dismay. People like that really make life difficult, saying such things. Even as a cleaner, I remembered being shouted at by businessmen. Move it, you're in the way. People always seem to be looking for someone they can consider beneath them. I remembered my boss David often saying. Then Mr. Johnson began to speak out of the blue. Thinking about what happened, I really feel terrible for Kayla's mom. But Mr. Johnson, you've reflected on your actions, right? And now you're actively working to solve the harassment issue, aren't you? Is there something else on your mind? I asked him, seeing the worried look on his face. Then Mr. Johnson, looking down, said, I've hardly had time to rethink my own words and actions. Maybe Mr. Johnson just didn't have an outlet. So, how about having a drink with me regularly? Really? Yeah, it's like a reflection session. We create a space to vent our weaker sides. Ah, I see. It's like counseling. Talking and being listened to. Reassessing oneself. Yeah, that might help me look at myself more calmly. Mr. Johnson said this with a relieved smile. Hearing him, I thought, this guy, once you talk to him, isn't so bad. I smiled back at him. From then on, Mr. Johnson and I started going out for drinks regularly. Mr. Johnson would talk about the kids' problems, and I'd let him hear my work complaints. Maybe because we both had a place to vent, our jobs started going surprisingly well. I became serious about my work and quickly got promoted to chief manager, taking over for Josh. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, so, how are things with Kayla's mom? Well, I'm transferring to a different school next year, and we've decided to get married around that time. Mr. Johnson shared, a bit shyly. Turns out, Mr. Johnson started dating Kayla's mom after all that. He had visited her home to apologize, shared his own experience of growing up in a single-parent home, talked about the individual meetings he held with each student, and reported back during homeroom discussions. Gradually, more kids began to side with Kayla, and the child who had been bullying her eventually transferred to another school. As he continued to share these updates, he regularly reported back, which eventually led to their relationship. So, is Kayla okay with it? Yes, I'll work hard to be called Dad by her from next year. His face was beaming in a way that was unrecognizable from when I first met him. Then, cheers to Mr. Johnson, the soon-to-be dad. We clinked our beer glasses. Life has its ups and downs, but having friends to share complaints with can make a big difference. I look forward to continuing my friendship with Mr. Johnson as drinking buddies for a long time to come.